We were talking about the scourge of drug addiction and mental illness, which often go hand in hand, in this young man who's now been accused of killing Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, his own parents. And updating a detail that I told you about his addiction. The Daily Mail report said that as of 2016, Nick had gone to rehab 18 times, which means he was, I think, 22 in 2016. And that means that in 7 years, he went to rehab 18 times. 7 years. It's more than three. I can't even do the math. Don't make me do the math. It's about 3 times a year. 2 times a year plus. And there's more here from the yoga instructor. It's a very interesting article in the Daily Mail. The headline is Daily Mail exclusive troubled truth about little Nicky. That's what she called him in her book. And she writes, the piece writes the following about Rob and the son. He had clashes with his family throughout the years, as documented in the film they did together, which portrays a young man who resents the way his father and mother are dealing with his addiction. They force him to spend time in rehab, with their interactions a reflection of how Rob, Michelle, and Nick were with each other, the family said at the time. Evidencing the years of clashes the parents had with their son, it ends with an apology from the dad for the occasionally unsympathetic way he treated his son. Rob Reiner said in an interview afterward that he owed and gave this apology to his son in real life. But Nick's unpredictability and even aggression toward his family seemingly continued. And here's a little bit more from the actual, we played you a clip from the movie played by actors, but here's the actual Nick on camera in an interview with AOL promoting this movie we're discussing, Being Charlie, in 2016, talking about his relationship with Rob, Sod 11.
It really clicked for me because we didn't bond a lot as a kid. Like, he really liked baseball, I liked basketball, and he could watch that with my brother, but baseball. But I just, when I saw him do that, and it was something that I'm interested in, I was like, wow, like, he really knows a lot, and like, it made me feel closer to him and be like, yeah.
You're like, wow, my dad's Rob Reiner.
I never had thought about it, and then...
Yeah, it didn't cross your mind, right?
Never.
Here's a little bit more. This is SOT 12A from the Paul Mercurio podcast, 2 Chairs and a Microphone. Again, same thing, 2016.
We both learned what each other went through during that time, but really the thing I took away from it was I got to see him in his element, sort of directing and doing all these things. And when I said that in the past, people would be like, well, weren't you on movie sets before?
Yeah,
but it's different because it's something I wrote, it's my dad, and it's something that we're collaborating on. And I saw he has sometimes a hard time expressing himself through just conversation, but through his efforts.
What do you mean by that? Because it seems like he's very expressive through conversation.
Well, we're on a show right now, but...
Oh, really?
No, but he's
I'm pretty quiet.
He's quieter, but he listens. He's a great dad, and like I just mean that like he's best explaining himself when he's in his element, making a movie, showing how much he cares through that.
There's a lot in there, Emily. You know, you never know what goes on behind closed doors and how people are, and you have a son there frustrated at not being able to effectively communicate with his own father for whatever reason, you know, that his father couldn't express himself in the way the kid needed. I'm not blaming Rob Reiner, and we're just taking a look at the relationship here, given what's happened. And so while you might think he's an expressive guy and actually kind of gifted at expressing himself, given the movies, he certainly didn't seem to have a tough time expressing himself politically. It's different with your kid, and certainly different with a kid who is, in a way, special needs.
And it also, I think, represents what we all know, which is that you can't throw money at a problem like that, because to go to rehab that many times, you know, that's an extraordinary financial expense for his son. And obviously Rob Reiner had lots and lots of money. The family had lots and lots of money. And so it doesn't make life, it may make life easier in some ways, but it doesn't necessarily make life better. And so when you think about a family here who was trying everything over the course of a decade plus to help their son, including, by the way, doing the emotionally taxing work of directing his film that he wrote about your relationship. I mean, I cannot possibly fathom how difficult it was to do that. In some ways, obviously, they're saying it was rewarding, but that's, days and days spent in the muck of your emotional trauma, your family's suffering, your failings and successes as a parent and a child. I mean, you're putting a lot of effort into dealing with this relationship, and for it to end so tragically and violently is very upsetting.
And it sounds like the parents did not only the rehab thing 18 times in 7 years, but also tough love, because this Daily Mail piece points out that he told People magazine in 2016, I don't know if my math is correct, it's almost 26, and he was 32. He is 32. So 10 years ago, he would have been 22, and 15 to 22 is 7 years. That's where I got. So my math is right, give or take a few months. He told People magazine in 2016, Nick, the son, that he wound up homeless. Okay, again, this is when he was 22. He said, I've been homeless in 3 states because I've repeatedly refused treatment. But he says, I've since been on the mend. I was homeless in Maine. I was homeless in New Jersey. I was homeless in Texas. I spent nights on the street. I spent weeks on the street. It was not fun. If I wanted to do it my way and not go to the programs they were suggesting, then I had to be homeless. In other words, they did tough love. That's what he's saying here, that the parents said, we are not going to fund your life, your apartments, your landlord, your bills until you get help. And honestly, we've been through this in my own family. I've talked before. Like, I've had somebody I really, really love dearly, severely addicted to prescription drugs. And you really do wrestle with, like, what do we do? Do we try to save them? Do we do hard love? And there was a divide in my family over. I mean, I've said it's my sister who's since passed, but my brother and I were much more like, Mom, we have to do hard love. We have to let her hit rock bottom. And it's much different for the parent who, my mom did not want to allow that to happen to my sister. We had no money like the Reiners do, but I can relate to these struggles. And the person you love is in there. They're not dead, like they're alive. They're just like, there's several layers between you and them in like this weird exterior that doesn't represent the true them. And you get angry at these drugs and you blame the drugs. And it's like, you so desperately want the drug addiction to go away, because then the person will come out again. Like, it's like an invasion of the body snatcher, like you want the force to be gone so that your relative is back, present again. And you will throw any amount of money, tough love, and what feels like cruelty, whatever, at it to get to the end result. But then when it doesn't come, and in this case, it seems like it was constant relapse, you get to the point that they got to, according to that quote we read from TMZ, with a mother saying, we are at our wits' end and we do not know what to do.
And to the point that you mentioned, it looks like the picture that's emerging is that over the years, they have tried both tough love and abundant love. I mean, everything from saying, we have to at some point cut him off so that he knows that you can hit rock bottom, as opposed to what everybody who's dealt with this experiences, where when you do the abundant love approach, sometimes there are limits to that too, but they did it both ways, clearly. That's what we're seeing. And you mentioned this earlier, but what we're learning from this crime scene, obviously, is a stabbing situation. The report horrifically is a throat slitting situation, and that is, to the point you made, a crime of passion. And so when we're thinking about a person being inside, the real person being inside, I mean, what it has to take to do that to your own parents, reportedly after a heated argument at a party, that is sociopathic. I mean, that's really the only way to look at it, which means that what they were dealing with is unimaginable, and there's no ration, there's no reason, there's nothing you can do in a situation like that that'll definitely work. You just have to keep trying, and the clock ran out on them, unfortunately.
There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. And the sister, if you see the pictures of Romy, the sister, I guarantee you she knew. And again, reportedly, she was the one who called the cops and said, check out Nick. But you see these pictures of her, and it's just a couple snapshots, but in each one, there's the other brother. I think his name is Jay. He's all smiles. He seems like a genuinely happy person. He projects joy in just his facial expression and energy. In all the pictures of Romy, Jake, in all the pictures of Romy, you can see, at least I think I see in the eyes like a concern, like a pain. There's the absence of a joy that you see in the other brother's face. And then you see Nick, who looks deeply disturbed in every photo. He looks progressively disturbed, progressively more like a criminal, someone who doesn't appear to be taking care of himself, somebody who's not well-groomed, somebody who has got like a madness in his eyes. I realize this is 2020 hindsight, so forgive the armchair analysis, but it's what I see. And this yoga instructor, again, who taught with the family for a decade, wrote a book about Nick, Little Nicky. She described the Reiner parents as passionate, hands-on parents and loving. She said Michelle was a New Yorker living in California. She was really mindful, trying to raise her kids out of the pressures of LA and Hollywood. It was challenging and full-time. She pointed out that the family was Jewish. They were likely preparing for a family get-together to celebrate the first night of Hanukkah on Sunday before they were killed. She said that the discord she witnessed between Nick and his family, quote, was a product of their fame, quoting from the Daily Mail piece. This is how they quoted her. I think it's really challenging for children of Hollywood stars to have a clear sense of reality. It's really not easy, but it's not an excuse, she said. This is still her. The sense of neglect can breed its own delusion in kids. So she does say that they're hands-on parents and loving, but she also speaks of a sense of neglect breeding a delusion in Hollywood kids and saying that there was a discord as a product of his fame. Again, saying it's not an excuse for what happened, but giving us an insight as to somebody who knew the family well about what one of the issues was. Now, of course, he has 3 other children who are fine, who are fine. It's this one who did this dastardly deed. But it does make you wonder, like, I don't know, you've got a kid who's 15, he's severely addicted. Do you leave Hollywood? Do you give up your directing career? Do you devote your full time to this teenager, this child who you've brought into the world, who is legally and morally your responsibility? Like, do you give up your career directing movies and being the toast of the town to just focus full time on that child and the others who you still have in your home? I don't know. Here's Rob Reiner kind of defending the notion that his son Nick was privileged on that same Paul Mercurio podcast in 2016. It's 12.
It's not hard to reveal that stuff. It's only hard to reveal that stuff to then get told you're a spoiled white rich kid, and it's like, okay, maybe all these things.
Well, who would say that to you? Not your dad.
No, but the world, Listen, I had to talk to him about this. Listen, I know what it's like to be the son of, and to have people assume certain things about you, and it's very, very difficult.
Well, how did you handle that?
Well, I mean,
obviously you didn't go to drugs, but you must have had those issues. Your father's an icon.
In the 60s, there was plenty of drugs around.
Yeah.
But you just have to know what you do, and that you have to block out all that extraneous noise. And it's hard for him because this is the first time he's, all of a sudden there's a lot of attention. People are talking, and he has the double whammy. He's got me and he got his grandfather, and they're going to say whatever the heck they want, but they don't know. They don't know what he's experienced. They don't know what he's gone through.
Yeah.
They don't know why he's done what he does, and and it's pretty dumb, pretty ignorant of people to say just because you're born and you have money and that doesn't mean anything.
I don't know, Emily. What do you make of all that?
I mean, in all of the clips that you've played of them on this press tour together, the son looks deeply uncomfortable, which is understandable. Nick looks deeply, deeply uncomfortable. And that line from apparently the family yoga instructor in the Daily Mail about struggling to cope with fame. I mean, I was doing the math. He would have been born in the early 90s, probably like 1993. So honestly, that's arguably the height of Rob Reiner's power and fame. And so he's born into that. Which is just that time to be a toddler, then to be a teenager. I mean, it had to have been enormously, enormously difficult. And I think that's what they're kind of getting at, is that, people look at somebody in that position as privileged and spoiled and all of that, which they are, but that brings with it its own special bag of suffering and difficulties and all of that. And when I saw that first clip that we played from this press tour, he mentioned when the interviewer said, "Your dad's Rob Reiner," sort of like, "Isn't it amazing? You got to learn that your dad is Rob Reiner." He did not seem to find it nearly as amusing as the interviewer kind of set him up to express. It looked like he looks like he was struggling with a lot of resentment. And again, it's armchair quarterbacking, but I feel like it's just jumping off of the screen in those interviews, sadly.
It reminded me so much of, it was late last week. You know how you scroll your phone in the morning? I know we're not supposed to, Gary Brecka, but I did it. And this video was fed to me on my Instagram of Presley Gerber, the beautiful son of Cindy Crawford and Randy Gerber. He's a businessman and came up with George Clooney with Casamigos Tequila. And they've got more money than God. And very good genes, thanks to Cindy. And they have 2 children, Kaya Gerber, who's a very successful model, and Presley Gerber, her brother, he's the older, who's also a model, and deeply troubled. We had seen him in the past, like, get a facial tattoo, which, by the way, is not visible in the video I'm about to show you. Maybe he's had it removed. Maybe that was BS. I don't know, but he had a facial tattoo, it looked like, for a while. And he has been in and out of rehab himself, and now is posting, I guess he's clean and sober at the moment, and he's posting something like Mental Health Mondays posts on his Instagram. And he too he's only 26 years old, very young. And I could not believe the level of issues that he espoused of his own in what's like an 8-minute video. We cut it way down just to give you a feel. Watch this, SOT 12B.
Long story short, where I'm at currently, 3 classes of medications. 4. Blood pressure, opiate, benzo, antidepressant, Xanax, when the panic attacks are really, really bad. The Valium, I take a little bit in the morning, or not, I don't know if it's a little or a lot. Antidepressant-wise, mirtazapine, and then I take prazosin, also used to treat night terrors and PTSD, and ketamine drips. I definitely use that more than I should. Sometimes it's not in a clinical setting.
In a way, he's a walking time bomb.
Presley says he is now 5 months alcohol-free and wants to wean off these drugs, but getting help from his doctors hasn't been easy.
Once you start taking them, if you don't take them, the quote-unquote withdrawal from certain medications.
That was a clip from Entertainment Tonight talking about how, he wants to get off of all of this, but he can't. That's what he talks about in that clip. Like, I don't even know how to begin to get off of all these. And he also talks about being in and out of rehab. I think he said 7 or 8 times, and he's only 26. I'm not blaming their fame and wealth. As I just pointed out, I had a sister who was an addict, and we had no money. So it's not, it's not about that. Like, some people do come into the world with a different body chemistry. I really do believe that can lead them down a dark path. Like, the truth is, my sister was never like super happy. I think she was more prone to this type of addiction. She was given the drug as though it was not addictive. And so I just think she was more vulnerable to it. But so that can also be, I don't mean to say, oh, Cindy Crawford sucks and she shouldn't work. But I do also think that, like, no matter how big your life is, if your kid has got this issue, it's all hands on deck, full-time attention, or it doesn't go down a good path. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.